Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Dr. Turnow, Margaret, thank you again for having me here today. My name is Assemblyman Jake Blumenkrantz. I have the pleasure of representing both the school district and the neighborhood in the New York State Assembly. It has been a pleasure working with the school district for the past 2 years, and we've done so many exciting things, and we're going to continue to do exciting things. So far, I'm happy to report we've secured some grant funding for the school district, and we'll get more into that in details in the coming weeks. But just really excited to work with you guys. We're fighting pretty hard to make sure that schools like Locust Valley and so many other ones in our district are accounted for in the conversation surrounding education in Albany, including foundation aid or specific curriculums that are being brought up in conversation in Albany and through the legislative process. And I think it's important that we continue to be as loud as possible in making sure that our communities are heard. And I just want to say I'm happy to be both your voice and advocate in that process, as well as leaning on all of you for advice and counsel when it comes to these conversations. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions any of you may have as part of our process as a legislator, as well as ways and opportunities we can work together to both help the school district and all the students here. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate your partnership, and it's definitely critical and crucial to just advancing a lot of things that are important to us as a district. So we definitely appreciate the grant and appreciate you being here tonight, and obviously our continued partnership with your team. So thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to go into reports to the board. I will turn it over to Dr. Turnow.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. I first want to thank our custodial and our maintenance units for the work that was completed this summer. They've been hard at work. We're excited to have our students back. We can't wait for our community to really see all the work that's been done, and we're ready to embrace our 24-25 school year. This evening, we're going to welcome our newly appointed Assistant Superintendent for Business, Karen Worochewski. She's going to be updating the school board and our community on the most recent information regarding reserve restrictions and the Rockefeller Institute study. Please note that I was recently interviewed by the Herald, by Will Sheelan, on this topic as well, only about a week ago. So, Ms. Worochewski, if you would be so kind to walk us through the presentation.
So first I want to thank everybody for allowing me to give this presentation. It's on one of my favorite subjects, which is foundation aid. And we're talking about foundation aid, some of the potential reform to the foundation aid formula. How may this affect the district? And also some concerns over the reserves, because they have been tied together in the subject. So what is foundation aid? Foundation aid is a formula. It is designed to ensure that every student receives a basic, sound education. It does that by estimating the cost of how much will it cost to educate the student. Some of the key factors here is our community wealth. That includes both your property values and the income levels, your student enrollment, the poverty rates, the number of English language learners, the regional costs, and also inflation. So what is the status of foundation aid for Locust Valley? So for this current school year, that's the 24-25 school year, we are to receive $2.8 million in foundation aid. If you remember, during the budget cycle, there was a lot of talk about transition adjustment. That is decreasing our aid by $827,000. That is because we are held in a category called hold harmless, which means we receive more foundation aid than the formula dictates. By being in hold harmless, it ensures that a school district, not just ours, but any other school district that is held harmless, does not receive less state aid than it has in the year before. Our district has been in this category since 2008-9. So here's a quick slide. This is our 6-year retrospect of Locust Valley Foundation Aid. I went as far back as 2019 to 20. And the first column is the foundation aid formula. That is what we should be receiving if we follow the formula. The third column is the aid the district receives. That's our held harmless. And then the fourth column is the held harmless excess funding. So that means in 2019-20, we received $1.4 million more than the formula dictated. In the 2024-25, that's $1.7 million, which comes close to that $827,000 that I go back, that was proposed in our transition adjustment. So what's the rationale for this? So in the governor's office, they have looked at declining student population and district reserves, large district reserves, that prompted her to reevaluate the outdated funding formula. And that's where Dr. Turnow was mentioning she hired the Rockefeller Institute for Government to look at that formula. So the next is actually a quote that I took from the state office. It said, even if a school district's population is declining, it will never receive less funding than the previous year. Some districts are accumulating a big pile of cash reserves. And that's something I know this Board of Education is very sensitive to. So the next slide is, this is coming from the June 30th, 2023, because the financial statements have not been finished for this past school year. But in Nassau County, I looked at all the school districts and their cash reserves. So in Nassau, on the low side was $10 million, and on the high side was $55 million in reserves. In Suffolk County, the low was $65,000, and the high was $56 million. This is our reserve balance, and you'll see that we are nowhere near the low, which you don't want to be, but nor are we up to that $55 million. Our restricted is close to $22 million. So I just want to show you this because you see our restricted, those are the reserves we're discussing right now. We are assigned, that's encumbrances, that's bills that we just haven't paid from one year to the next. And finally, it's the unassigned, because that's going to come up in a minute, the unassigned. So there's been news regarding our reserves. So Dr. Turnow has been interviewed by the Herald, and Newsday also recently did an article on this. This is about school districts that have reserves above the legal limit. This, I'm going to go back again. This is on the bottom, the unassigned. That's the 4%. A school district cannot have more than 4% of the following year's budget. They cannot say, it has to be 4%. So some school districts are above that. I remember, I believe Brentwood was one. But our district, we follow the law. Ours is exactly 4% of the following year's budget. Back. And then all the way by the Times Union, that article, half of New York schools could see a loss in foundation aid. That was exactly what I was talking about earlier. This is the hold harmless with the foundation aid. If we're held harmless, they may take that money back. So as we look at that, what is the Board of Education's priorities? It's always to maintain our fiscal strength. We want to stay dedicated to ensuring the stability of the school districts, but we want to keep our taxes low. So we're always, the Board of Education is always looking at that during budget time. And finally, we want to explore what are our future capital projects, because these are the reserves we're talking about. Our capital, I'm gonna go back, sorry if I'm doing this, you'll see the capital reserve at the end of last year was $13 million. We are looking at what is the best way to spend some of this money on our district, on our facilities. And then that's it. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you to the Board of Education.
Thank you so much, Karen. And I appreciate us having these conversations at the beginning of the year. I know a lot of times our budget planning and conversations begin much later. We have a very fiscally strong budget, but I do want to commend Tony and Karen and your office for consistently year over year, as you can see in these slides, really holding us to the law, creating healthy reserves, and allowing us to have these conversations where I know a lot of other districts are in a lot worse off position than we will be. On the flip side, obviously we will have some, if this doesn't go in our favor this coming year, we will have some hard decisions to make and difficult financial decisions for the district as we were facing this previous year. And so I will open the floor up to any questions, concerns, things that we might want to discuss and start the conversation. And we can revisit this as many times as we'd like, month over month. Anybody? Okay.
I would just like to say that after 6 years of fighting through what we fought through for 6 years, this was one of the most incredible presentations, and to Tony's credit, and Karen, I know Tony, you're leaving us soon, but this work wouldn't have been done without you. And the way that you just presented this to the public, Karen, was just exceptional. And I mean, if you could see my notes, it's just wow, 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 wow. Because you just encapsulated it. I think that to the credit of this board, we're always trying to educate the public so that they understand, so that they're not just yelling, oh, you have a $96 million budget, why this, why that? There's really a lot to it, and I love that you broke this down. It was so understandable. And for the first time in 6 years, I feel like we're finally getting the messaging out. It's not the work has been being done, and it's been there, and it's to Tony's credit. But now we're getting the messaging out, which is part of the process of getting everybody on the team. So thank you for directing that this be done, and thank you, Lauren, for asking for it to be done.
And this will be, just for those at home, we will have the presentation available on the website. I apologize if it's not able to view from home right now, but we will have it available probably by tomorrow.
It's on the agenda right now.
It's on the agenda now.
And that's the Rockefeller Institute is an independent organization that is overseeing the foundation aid revamping. So that's why this is a pertinent conversation now, because they just came to our region at the beginning of August. And school districts were not really permitted to be vocal and have a moment to share their concerns. So this is the way that we get the information out to the public. So thank you.
And I think that kind of sidelines into our next topic of the night, which is our facilities survey. George, can I hand it over to you? Facilities?
So I'll digress for a moment and say we did our mandated walkthrough of all the buildings today. The board walked around. We will provide a very detailed sort of overview come September of all the work that was done. But again, full accommodation and credit goes to Eric, the entire facilities teams, and all the custodians. As we're walking, they're doing every little detail, getting it all ready for the kids. Everyone's excited. Everything looks absolutely beautiful. As Karen sort of alluded to, we have this capital reserve, and we've spent, as we've shared a lot last spring, we've done a really, really good job, and Eric has been instrumental in it the last several years in driving forward all the kind of core infrastructure stuff. Making sure, if you will, to use an analogy, we have the base model of a car, and now we have a chance to add on all the bells and whistles. And the idea is, where do we spend our capital reserves to do those bells and whistles? So in very short order, you'll be receiving, all families within the district will be receiving a very quick, quite literally a 1.5 to 2 minute survey. asking you to prioritize some of the larger projects that we envision doing, that we've heard from admin, and that we ourselves think the district needs. And we're going to take that information from all of you as sort of a first step. And once we identify specific projects that the district wants to sort of prioritize and take on, then there'll be more follow-up conversations with all of you. We're going to need input from the faculty and the staff, from the admin, as well as all the parents and even the students, to really understand if we want to take on a revamping of the middle school, high school library, what would that sort of look like? If we wanted to tackle a fitness and wellness center and expand our athletics to the community almost, to offer sort of a gym space, continuing education classes, what would that look like? So those conversations will be forthcoming here in the fall, but please be on the lookout for that note coming to your inbox and complete the survey as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, George. I appreciate you spearheading that, and that should be out probably in the next week or so. Does anybody have any questions in the survey? Okay. The next area of new business, we do need to appoint a voting delegate. So the New York State School Board Association holds their annual meeting, and that is scheduled for October 10th. It's a virtual meeting held in the evening, and basically, as you know, a few weeks ago we put forth resolutions. Those resolutions throughout the state are then all considered by the New York State School Board Association, and they are basically layers of review between different organizations like the Nassau Suffolk School Board Association, but they create their guide as far as what resolutions they will be promoting, what resolutions they will not be supporting, and every school district is eligible to have a delegate attend that meeting. It is a voting delegate, so that person will stay on the call and vote on each of those resolutions. There's also an opportunity to vote for the resolutions they are not recommending to be put up to be reviewed and voted on, which I think in many cases is important to some of the resolutions that we put forth. So I guess I'm opening it up to see if we have anybody who's willing on the board to take on the delegate spot. It's about a 3 to 4 hour video call.
It's more like an 8 hour.
8 hour? Okay. Margaret would know. She has graciously been our delegate for the past 4 years. Okay. Yeah, and has done an exceptional job, but I will welcome maybe another board member if you'd like to put your hand up for it. I'll leave it out there.
Do you have to decide on it?
Yes.
This meeting?
Yes. It's formal, and once you're on, you have to stay on. It starts at 4. Last year, I think it ended at 11:30.
Okay.
That's a lot.
What date is it again?
10th,
It's on
October
October
10th.
10th.
Tuesday.
No, it's a Thursday.
Not September. I have no problem doing it, but I also have no problem stepping aside. You do sometimes have to argue, our resolutions, because sometimes our resolutions don't make it to the.
Approved list.
Oh no, there's a quorum of like 450 people. It's the whole state.
Okay.
It's one
Is
person.
it Crestland? Or is
No,
it?
no press. No, it's a closed system.
I'll do it.
Yeah, you all right?
George, did you want to take?
No.
Trust me, I'm sure.
You just have to know our resolutions and argue them. Perfect.
Holly, you've been wonderful. Thank you for stepping up.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. So we do have to have a resolution for our appointees. So be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Kristen, if we get your okay, that the Board of Education authorizes the appointment and registration of Holly Estevez as our voting delegate on behalf of the Locust Valley Central School District at the virtual NYSBA annual business meeting scheduled for October 10th, 2024, and attendance at the voting delegate orientation. There are no costs associated with the event. Do I have a motion? George? And a second? Matt? All in favor? Unanimous. Holly, thank you very much.
Sure.
Can't wait for you to report back. All the excitement. Okay, and I think lastly, Dr. Turnow, you were going to just give us a brief update on our cell phone usage and policy.
So anybody, because I know we've all been extremely involved, which has been great, but last year, our administrators really came together with the Board of Education, and we spoke deeply about cell phone use, and truly looking at the negative impact that they do have on our classrooms. There's been many articles written this year. I've been reading most of them. Teachers, surveys, even teachers are reporting how distracting they are, how difficult it is for them to conduct their classrooms, engage our students. And we had a board presentation by Mr. DiClemente, our high school principal, as well as Mike Sestero, our middle school principal. And they were really able to show us through data how inappropriate behavior, bullying, etc. had declined because we had asked our students to put their cell phones away. So with that said, the Board of Education is going to be moving forward with developing policy this year. As we work on our code of conduct with our administration and stakeholders, we're going to really embed this in our updated policy because we recognize wholeheartedly that this is just good for kids. And that's where it's really coming at. I think it's really notable that we've been asked, Mike Sestero and I will be presenting with him up at the New York State School Boards on October 22nd. So I'm very proud of this organization because we're a little bit ahead of the governor's office. We're presenting, so that's great. But now I'm starting to see many of our colleagues in surrounding school districts really reaching out to us. And I've had a lot of superintendents said, was it difficult? And I said, absolutely not, it wasn't. I think most of our families in Suffolk and Nassau County do want this for their children. They recognize how difficult it is for even them at the dinner table to not have their own children bring their cell phones, to not be highly engaged in social media, that there's a place and there's a time. And I'm really proud of the efforts that everyone at this table, as well as our administration, our teachers, and faculty members have made towards this effort, because I know that we're really doing right by the children that we serve. So I'm really proud of that.
Anybody have any comments or anything to add?
Are we doing the committee reports later?
I believe we do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was holding it to that.
Okay. And I just definitely want to, I want to commend everybody at the table because this has been an issue that I think every single person sitting here has all really gotten behind and been able to be supportive of one another. Our administrators have been exceptional. And so I just want to commend everybody. And what we've seen from the governor coming down is that basically she wants to ban that. And so we're really one step ahead of the curve. And I think it'll make that transition, if it does come down like a hammer, it'll make that transition so much easier for our students because it's something that's already in practice. So
There was an article today in Newsday about the same thing and how all the schools now are getting the wonder packets that you put your phone in and it locks for the day and you can lock it at the end of the day, so that they're bumping up their process of making that, anticipating that this is coming down from the governor.
we have lockers. They're doing a great job.
I know, but I'm
right?
just saying they have to have these too.
Our
They
lockers
were-
are doing great.
Yeah, and I'd like to say something just in support of what Kristen just shared, Dr. Turner just shared. And I think this echoes what George did at last year's meeting when we were introducing this for the first time, which is an appeal from the board to our parents and community members to really understand, while I totally recognize, empathize, and appreciate the desire to have that line into your children at all times during the day, I think this board and this administration really recognize the school day as just trying to return to being a sacred place of learning. So I think we really call upon all of you to work with us and to work with our administration to lower the burden on the administration by just appreciating how important it is to help our children disconnect. And all of us help each other and work together, because I just think it's all, we can all learn to do better, myself included, everyone at this table. So we continue to hope this is a partnership. We really rely on your support in leading your children and our students together with our administration, who are trying very hard, and our teachers every day, who are trying very hard to return these children to a place of being able to focus, being uninterrupted, being able to communicate, make eye contact, converse with one another, and just respect the school day, to really kind of just return to the simpler times when we were not all on the grid. So thank you.
Thanks, Molly. Margaret, I
draft back yet. So
Okay.
it's in the process.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. We're gonna move on to consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve our consent agenda? Margaret, second by Helen.